if you take a look at the last 8,000 years through the eyes of Teilhard de Chardin, the priest and the paleontologist, he sees a rapid movement back to a more natural way. He calls it Christ consciousness, but my Palestinian friends call this Islam, and anyway, all of them see us as moving back to what is really what we know, that the good life is enriching life, contributing to people's well-being. It's not competing and winning. It's being conscious we're all created out of the same energy. Nobody can benefit at somebody else's expense. So our economy, which is its success, is measured by whether the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. We're coming to see that that's not going to meet anybody's needs. When I ask people all over our planet in my work to think of something they did recently that enriched somebody's life, and everybody can usually think of it, although it takes a while because we every day do so many things that do that. It's so part of us that we don't think of it. You know, we give verbal greetings that are designed to connect in a pleasant way with people. We cook meals for people. We do it, touch them in ways that nourish. So very often it takes a while before people can answer this question, but then they get something in mind that they've done for somebody in the last 24 hours. Now I say, focus your attention on how you think that enriched their life, in terms of their needs. What needs of theirs were met? How do you think that left them feeling? And when people start to imagine that, you can see a beam come out in their face and their eyes. And they say, how do you feel right now when you realize that you did something that had that impact on people? And people say, oh, I feel good, I feel happy, I feel delighted. Then I ask them this question: do any of you know anything that's more fulfilling than to do that? To use the power we have in a way that contributes to people's well-being. And I've asked that question all over the planet, and nobody has ever said to me, yeah, if you get a Lexus, that's better, or if you get these kind of culturally induced rewards, that's better. No. People say the most fulfilling thing is to contribute to people's well-being. Well, that's play then. That's the most enjoyable play that we human beings engage in, to contribute to people's well-being. Now, sometimes that play can involve hard work, because I may work very hard to do something that contributes to people's well-being. Sometimes I travel a long way across the world to offer something to people that's enriched my life. But it's play when my full focus of attention is on why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for money. I'm not doing it to get a positive report card. I'm doing it because something that has increased joy in my life. It's joyful to share it with others. It's a fun game. It's the most fun game I've ever found, contributing to people's well-being. I'm really confident it's the most fulfilling game we human beings will ever find. So, Teilhard de Chardin sees a rapid evolution. He just sees this last 8,000 years as just a temporary snag in our evolution, where some things led us to get culturally ignorant and to get involved in violence and competition. And he says it's just an evolutionary phenomenon, and he sees a rapid movement back to the more natural consciousness. Well, I agree with him that it's happening, and I think it's rapid, but my not being a paleontologist, I don't think in terms of tens of thousands of years. I have a granddaughter. I would like to see us speed it up. We're living on a planet where we have enough resources to meet everybody's needs. We have enough food so that it isn't necessary for millions to starve. We have the medicines that could be preventing millions from dying of diseases. So it's only the consciousness that we need to alter. And there is a rapid movement toward the evolution of this consciousness. I just want us to do it faster. I started from the question of how come some people enjoy other people's suffering so that it makes violence enjoyable, so that people find it heroic to punish people that they judge as bad. And then how come other people in the same society are just the opposite? They get their joy not in believing that there's bad people that need to be punished, but they get their joy in contributing to people's well-being. So I then saw that there was quite a different language and quite a different consciousness on the part of people who behaved in the violent way as opposed to the compassionate way. And I decided to try to clarify that. What is the nature of communication that helps us to connect in a way in which we enjoy contributing to each other's well-being? And how is that process of communication different in the people who contribute to the violence of others? Then, after I developed nonviolent communication, which is the language and the power usage that I saw contributing to compassionate interaction, I then wondered, where the heck did we ever learn this other approach? So then I got interested in where did it all begin, where we learned a way of thinking and communicating that contributes to violence on our planet. And here, scholars and scientists like Walter Wink, the theologian, and his book, The Powers That Be, and others who share his perspective, trace this back to about 8,000 years ago when various things happened I won't go into now, but we came out of it with organizing ourselves in terms of where a few people who claim to be superior dominate others. Sometimes they base their superiority claiming their family was born closer to God, and so they controlled on the basis of the divine rights of kings. But whatever it is, we started to live in cultures in which a few people claiming to be superior dominated others, and that requires a language of domination, a language in which you classify people in terms of what they are. Are they peons or are they royalty? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they normal? Are they abnormal? That way of thinking goes with domination, because in a domination structure, the people who claim to be on the top claim to know what is right and what is wrong, and they maintain their power through the use of power over tactics such as punishment, reward, guilt, shame. And so they need a language that justifies the use of punishment and reward, the language of retributive justice in which you make judgments of what the other person deserves. And that is dependent on how you judge them, whether good or bad, right or wrong, and so forth. So that's how I think it all began, about 8,000 years ago, when we started to have domination structures in which a few people dominated many. Before that, when we were more in the hunter-gatherer style of society, people that I trust in their studies anthropologically tell me we didn't have violence in the rate that we have since. So nonviolent communication now tries to get us back to what I think is a more natural way of communicating. So I think where we've gotten is an evolutionary snag, where we've gotten stuck on the basis of some unfortunate learning over 8,000 years. And nonviolent communication helps us come back to life, back to a more natural way of living, where our evaluations are on the basis of how needs are served. Are we meeting our needs and the needs of others, rather than who is what? Who's right, who's wrong, who's good and who's bad? No. Are our needs getting met? And if not, what can we do so that everyone's needs get met? That's the language of nonviolent communication. Our training is based on the assumption that the kind of beliefs and judgments that people have that lead them to dehumanize one another and to deny each other's rights, that language, we think, is a distortion of need language. That people are trying to say is that our needs are in danger. Some of our needs are in danger. But they're not given a language that helps them to say that. So they go to justifying this on the basis of what their interpretation is of what words were that were written down centuries before. The Bible says, or the Quran says, and they then tried to use these documents as justifying that they are right and the other side is wrong. So when I'm mediating between two groups that are thinking that way, who are at war with each other, each time they use that kind of thinking, I translate it into an unmet need. So when I'm working with two